Hello, welcome to another episode of the Accounting Insiders Podcast. My name is Gary DeHart. I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant and the host of Accounting Insiders Podcast. And my guest today is Matt Merrill, who is the partner and industry marketing or the lead ERP marketing person at Tipalti. So Matt, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Gary. It's great to be here today. I know we've been circling this for a while, so looking forward to talking with you.
Busy schedules, right?
Of course.
Yeah, well, so before we dive too far in, tell me just a little bit about you, your background, how you ended up doing what you're doing now with Tipalti, and then tell us kind of what Tipalti is and what you guys do.
Yeah, so I've been in business for a while. I started back in the partnership side of things with CDW after the recession, our first one. Worked with IBM for a little bit from the Midwest, a family out in Chicago. But I took a path through New York City and NYU Stern to Tipalti and was looking for a growth industry that is actually going to add value to businesses and can help really speed up the economy and find ways that, I think that there are certain types of companies like mid-market, for example, that tend to be overlooked when new technology solutions come out. So I was introduced to Tipalti a couple of years back, which now seems like ages ago. And what we're really doing over here at Tipalti is taking enterprise level finance automation and bringing that to mid-market companies. And so what that means is it can be small business that are looking to scale over time. They could be enterprise level companies that are really more focused on their mid-market. But what we tend to see is that so many organizations, especially in the fintech space, are either focused on enterprise, say whale hunting, or just very small basic solutions. So we saw that the technology, the capabilities are out there, and what we're trying to do and what we've done successfully over the past since 2010, since we were actually created, that's what we've been focusing on.
Okay. And you've been there 2.5, 3 years, is that right?
Yeah, over 2 years now. I'm considered an old guard. I was there. So we mirror a lot of the companies too, because we're in a fast growing space that's about 4% market penetrated when we talk about automated payables, right? So think about Venmo, PayPal for B2B, but more complex than that. It's the complete payables life cycle, everything from onboarding a supplier through financial close. So yeah, it's something that when I first got there, I think I was employee number 300 something. I forget the exact number. Now we're about 4x that, so over 1,000 employees now, and that's happened over the last few years. So I think what I appreciate about Tipalti is that that's something that a lot of companies deal with, especially in new spaces, especially in technology, software and technology. Take med tech, for example, biotech. There's a lot of things going on in those spaces where you're looking to digitize different resources that were normally done by signed check or Excel spreadsheet, things that take a while. But if you think about it, those types of companies are they have a mission, right? A nonprofit has a mission, a biotech company, for example. We work with companies that are trying to increase the ability to fight cancer and save people's lives, right? Well, if you have all of these financial manual back office processes that are slowing you down, how do you really focus on your mission? How do you focus on strategic growth? So Tipalti is similar to that in that I've seen the growth over time while we use our own product. So Tipalti uses our own product. I know this because I have to approve things or put payment requests and pay POs for different companies that we work with, whether it's a conference that we're sponsoring or something like that. And what I've been able to see is that if you put those automated processes in place, like starting like I did a couple of years ago, they can grow with you. And a lot of companies that can be daunting when they're looking to decide how to focus on automation, for example. Well, is this going to be good if we were to go to the UK next year? Would this work if we were to open an office in the Netherlands? Both of these things Tipalti did, by the way, in the last few years. So, so it's been really good to see how we've grown, and it's just an example that's how companies that we work with tend to scale as well.
Right. And so you're focused in that ERP space, and so you're dealing with, working with accounting firms. So how do accounting firms leverage this type of technology for their firm and for their customers? I mean, how do you see that being used there?
No, it's a great question. So it's what my group is focused on really is working with really valuable partnerships. And we understand that there's two areas that are on the front line of helping companies with their financial operations, with evaluating new technologies, with finding ways to streamline all of their operations. The two areas that I see that are on that front line are the ERP of records. You need a financial record. You need to be able to report whether it's up to your investors, figure out budgeting and forecasting, understand revenue recognition, all of those things, right? And the alternative to that, the status quo to that, is keeping tabs on it in tabs, literally Excel spreadsheets, right? And then the other one that's really close, and this is why we focus on it, are accounting firms like your readers, your listeners at Insightful Accountant. So, and I see this all the time at all the conferences we go to, or listening in on different conversations. But the first thing that a client's going to ask is whether it's their consultant, their accountant, what could I do to speed up my operations? What could I do to automate things more? I know it's out there. I know the technology is out there. I use it, consumer technology. I'm able to go on my phone and send a payment really quickly to somebody, right? So how would I do that business to business? Well, accounting firms understand first what's the ERP that you're using or accounting software, and what options work really well, because that's important, right? You don't want to create manual work on top of the manual work you're already doing. So you want anything that you do, any automation that you include, to fully sync up to your ERP or accounting system, right? And then a lot of times with accounting firms, we're helping them reduce the work that they have to do, right? So there's so much that the accounting firms that are your audience are doing that they don't have to tell me. I understand that this is the tough work. This is what's keeping the lights on. This is what keeping companies the ability to grow, the ability to pay your employees, et cetera. And so they would understand better than anybody else what will actually add value. But at the same time, if some of these things aren't put into place, like automated payments, POs, virtual cards, expenses, that are all synced to the ERP, well, guess who's actually going to be rekeying that into your accounting software? It's going to be your accountant, right? So we're adding value in that way, but it can also help your accounting firms showcase that they are really a thought leader and a subject matter expert to their clients, and that can go a long way as well.
Absolutely. Because we really do, as small businesses. I mean, we rely very heavily on the accounting firm as our trusted advisor in many, many areas, right? Whether it's taxes, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it is technology. Hey, can you help me narrow down what I'm using so I can be much more efficient and not spending money where I don't need to be spending it on licenses that I don't use.
Exactly.
So, and then actually speaking of that, what is the model for Tipalti? I mean, am I paying, if I'm a user, am I paying a monthly fee? Am I paying a per transaction fee? How does that work?
No, it's a great question. It's really a consumption model. So as you use it, the cost will be based off of that. So it's a SaaS fee model that starts at about $149 per user. That's just to get everything installed and access. There's typically some type of implementation unless the customer is proficient and has a team to do it themselves, which we find a lot. And sometimes they're working with an ERP, let's say it's a value-added reseller within a specific ecosystem that does both integration and implementation for the accounting system, but then also advises on accounting practices as well. But then in terms of cost, it's really just a transaction cost we are able to, for example, and this is the difference between Tipalti and other options out there that your audience is probably familiar with, is that we're actually a licensed money transmitter. So we are regulated just like any financial institution, just like any bank. And we have our money in the blue chip banks. So that's important. That's something that's come up over the last few weeks. We weren't affected by any of these closures or acquisitions. But we can, because we have our own payment rails, we can make fast, secure, accurate payments in 196 countries and 120 currencies across the globe. Okay. So those foreign transaction fees that would take, typically one of your clients they need to make a payment to, let's say, Europe for a developer that's helping out with their new app or a website or something like that. When you make that payment, typically, let's say you're in QuickBooks, process the invoice or Xero, for example, and then after that, it's okay, we got to make this payment. Now I have to go set up a wire template with a specific bank of their choosing, or send them a check, or how exactly is that going to happen? Well, we take that off their hands, but if they would have gone to a bank directly, there's a cost associated with it. So the fees that are from invoice processing or foreign transaction fees are in line with what you'd have to do individually manually with a bank, and it's in a lot of cases it's lower because we're issuing about $39 billion of remittance every year for all of our payees across the globe, about 4 million plus payees. So we have incredible cost savings that we can provide to our customers as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what about, so in our pre-planning discussion, talked about I always like to say, what's in it for the accounting firm, and you touched on that a little bit, but there's also your Luminaries or I don't know if that was the partner program, if you have an actual name for the partner program that you have. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can handle all of that. So we have our Tipalti Alliance program. So that's our partnership community. We have dedicated teams to individual ecosystems. So we have one for the QuickBooks ecosystem, one for Xero, one for Sage Intacct, one for NetSuite, one for Microsoft BC, Business Central. And then we also have dedicated teams to accounting firms. So outsourced accounting firms that we work with directly can be part of our program. We do offer referral programs. So there's referral fees if that's something that your company is set up to do, and then sometimes they aren't, and that's not what the accounting firm is looking for, and that's fine. And it's actually more about positioning yourself as a subject matter expert to your clients. It's about client retention, and then what I said before, it's about reducing the amount of time and effort that your team has to do to work on all of those manual AP practices on behalf of a client. And if you're able to take that, automate that, you can then instead add more value to your clients, like looking at strategic analysis of spend patterns or of revenue recognition and stuff like that.
Gotcha. And then, and so touch a little bit on Luminaries,
Luminaries, yeah, absolutely. So Luminaries is our customer user group. So it's a community that we've put together since we've been doing this for a while. And, it can be a hot topic issue that, fintech, automated AP, stuff like that. Well, that means a lot of things to a lot of different people. But we've been doing this. We're one of the old guards back since 2010, like I said, and when we got our licensed money transmitter license and all that. So throughout that process, we've learned a lot from our clients, enough that we brought all of these companies together. We work with 3,000 plus clients across the globe, and they're able to share knowledge on best practices, on how to speed up processes, on things that could be even specific to an ERP, like how to migrate from QBD over to QBO, and then how to then integrate Tipalti with that. So it's really just an online community that has been growing over time, and I would encourage any of our clients to do that. But for your audience, I think what they would like to hear is that accounting firms that work with us, and typically sometimes they could be clients themselves, and then they also refer some of their companies, the companies that are in their portfolio, to work with us.
Yeah.
They'll be part of a community that can help them understand best practices and find the best ways to solve things. Because this is all about making business easier to do between companies, about getting people paid on time, because that's more important than ever. Cash flow, visibility. Every vendor you work with needs the money just as much as you do. So this to me is more important than ever before, because cash flow is what everybody's focusing on.
Absolutely. And then, and so that's online, but didn't you do, or maybe a year ago, do you have a face-to-face event that's tied with Luminaries?
Yeah, no, appreciate that. So we have an annual conference called Illuminate, Tipalti Illuminate.
Okay.
We'll make that information available on Insightful Accountants website. We typically list it on your page because we want to make sure that anybody who's interested, maybe just dipping your toe into the water of AP automation, overall finance automation, automating the back office. If you're interested in, well, would this be a good fit for my clients? Let's say in the Chicagoland area or something like that. It's a free event. You can join. It's both in person, and then we also have a remote aspect of it this year. And you can learn from our existing customers, our finance team, our CFO, Sarah Spoyha, who's an amazing CFO, that they use our solution as well. So they can provide feedback and advice just as much as talk to you about how Tipalti is great, but also about what companies like us are doing as they grow, and how you can, figure out best practices.
Right. And when is that? Do you have a date for that?
Yeah. So this year it's going to be September 21st. And we'll include information on the Insightful Accountant website as well.
And that will be in the Chicago area, you said?
So that one actually is going to be in San Francisco. So our US headquarters is in Foster City, California now, formerly San Mateo. But we will have an in-person event in San Francisco on September 21st. And then for those who are other parts of the country, we have a remote, you'll be able to attend virtually, and we'll have a number of sessions. We're out in front of it, so I'm already seeing we have some good people that are going to be joining and talking about their stories, some leaders of finance from across the globe that will be talking about how they've made that transition from manual to full finance automation. And I'm sure a lot of your accounting firms and your audience would learn a lot from that.
Great. Yeah. Make sure we have all those details. We'll certainly help get that word out there. And we're going to touch base before we wrap up. We'll touch base just on other events where you'll be. But before we dive into that, I do want you to talk a little bit about the key integrations that are currently existing. You touched on that a little bit already, but then also what is in the pipeline that you can share. I'm sure there's always things in the pipeline that you can't share, but
always, yeah. Well, we're constantly investing into our solution. Like I said, we have a head start on anybody else that you say that does AP automation. We've been going since 2010, so we've been learning from it and reinvesting into the solution constantly. Part of that is investing into integration. So, like you said, we work with a number of ERPs, and that's my focus really. The more we can reach companies that are in your audience that work with different accounting software, the better, obviously. So QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, Xero, that's within the, let's say, small business space that are looking to scale and grow. For those that they're great, we have an API integration. It works seamlessly. I encourage you to visit our website that talks about those integrations. We're close partners with each of them also. So in certain times we have special pricing for QuickBooks Online. If you're looking to migrate from desktop, for example, same thing goes for some of the other ones that we work with. We also have API integrations with NetSuite, Sage Intacct, Microsoft Business Central, and we're also focusing on SAP Business One, Microsoft GP, Nav, F&O, and a number of other ERPs. So really trying to it covers everything from your small business companies that are looking to scale or ensure that you have the ability to scale and would rather invest in AP automation than hire a number of AP clerks across the globe. And that's always an option too, but not necessarily needed, obviously, especially as financial talent becomes harder and harder to come by. Then you have your mid-market ERPs that we really help clients, whether you start with us with even Excel or QBO or Xero, and then we extend that functionality to a great degree. So if you're automating everything from supplier onboarding, which is a huge part of it. So think about any new company that you work with that you need to make payments to, and you have to get all their tax information, their payment details, all that. And then how would you vet them? How would you make sure that they're not on OFAC or a blacklist, that they're not a bad actor, that they're good to be able to be paid? Then getting their tax information, being able to create W-8s, W-9s within our solution. Also being able to set up advanced approval routing and PO creation. So that can be daunting for some growing companies. Like, we know that we need some type of procurement solution, but we don't. Is it going to integrate with our accounting system or ERP? Is this something that we can provide? And then all these things I just said are before I even get to what many people consider AP automation, which is invoice processing. And that to me is table stakes at this point. That's just OCR scanning of an invoice. What's different about us is that we can put it through a 26,000 rules engine, make sure that there aren't any issues with the invoice. It has machine learning, it gets smarter over time, and we can essentially remove about 80% of those manual processes. So anything scanned in Tipalti is going to show up in your QuickBooks Online, in your Xero, in your NetSuite, whatever you're using. But so you also asked about things on the horizon. Well, we just launched a couple of capabilities. We've added a virtual card so we can also capture department level spends, which I find extremely valuable whenever I need to make purchases within the marketing department. So you're capturing that rather than having a separate card that's on a different bank that then you have to reconcile and bring that over. And I've seen it before we were doing this. Some people are, you're keeping tabs of it on a spreadsheet and then further putting that department level spend that's lower than the PO limit typically, and you're just using a card. The other thing we just launched was expenses. And that's something that I think is going to be extremely valuable to the community. So if you look at it as all of these back office processes, automating them, well, how do we capture employee level spend for when they travel as well? So not just for a subscription for a SaaS subscription for a department or an event or something like that, but also T&E. So able to use that same automation and approval workflows to get that over there. And then, like I said before, being able to make these payments in 196 countries, 120 currencies, that to us is extremely valuable. And then last thing I'll say is that we're constantly investing in the solution to make sure that we can help a company as it grows beyond just one location. So we're a multi-entity architecture. So it's multi-entity or multi-instance. So depending on the ERP that you use, it could be set up for multi-entity like NetSuite, for example, or it could be set up as a multi-instance like QuickBooks Online or Xero, for example. And essentially we can help you manage that spend if you have a location in San Francisco like we do, a location in London like we do, a location in the Netherlands, location in Tbilisi in Georgia, stuff like that. So it's really automating that entire back office process.
Gotcha. And then are the virtual card and expenses, is that rolled out global? Is that already active?
Yeah, so that's something that's brand new over the last few months, and we're taking new clients now for each of those.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you also had talked about, I think this was in our planning call, but about you're working to assist companies or accounting firms in migration of desktop to QB desktop over to QBO. Can you touch on that a little bit as well?
Yeah. So I was talking. I mixed up. I was talking both about new capabilities that we've invested in, but also new integrations. So I mentioned, like I said, all those different ERPs that we work with: NetSuite, Sage Intacct, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, Xero, Microsoft VC, SAP Business One, all of those. But we understand that everybody is at a different phase there. So sometimes you may have started on premise and there's this move, everybody would like to move to the cloud. Many will, just for the ability to analyze data better, or just have access anywhere in the globe as we become a more and more, hybrid remote working environment.
Right.
But so we have partnerships with each of these. We work with them directly, and we each target different types of companies and industries. But with QuickBooks, for example, we do have a working integration with QuickBooks Desktop. We have a number of clients that use that, but we also are helping those clients that are now looking to move to the cloud to move to QuickBooks Online. So we do have special pricing through our partnership. We have a link that I can also include on your website for that if anybody is interested. And then we can also help with answering any pre-sales questions on what are my best options. We're on desktop now. What's best for to move to the cloud? Here's how many employees we have. Here's where we're growing. Because we have relationships across really 8+ ecosystems, we can be that happens a lot, where a company will start with us in one place, and then 2 years later you have 3 or 4 locations, and you're now in a different space in terms of your company size and what you need for your financial operation.
And you're in a good place to help be able to really survey the market and say, our opinion is go here versus there.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily it's opinion, because these are all great solutions. These are the these are the leaders in ERP and accounting software, and they're all valuable partners to us. It's more based off of what your reporting needs are. It's technical resources. So we have a partnership community. Not only do we work with the ERPs themselves, but we have partners like value-added reseller partners in each of them that are experts in those space. So if you needed to understand my options, we have the companies that we can set you up with. But it's really just, it's optionality though too. It's knowing that you can start with Tipalti with any accounting software or ERP, and knowing that we future-proof your payables. So you won't have to switch off of Tipalti. You can migrate to a new ERP. But remember, those are 6 to 12 month large investment projects typically to move those. Tipalti you can get up and running in 4 to 6 weeks. And if you decide to migrate to another ERP later on, you don't have to change out Tipalti, because we'll be able to work with them.
Gotcha. Okay. So if somebody wants to try to find you at trade shows, we're getting here we are on the edge of trade show season. Where will Tipalti be? I'm sure you'll be at a lot of places.
We're at everything. I promise you. I'm sure anybody listening here, if you know some conferences coming up, we're going to be there. I promise. Well, we were just this week at the BDO Alliance conference in Las Vegas. In 2 weeks, we will be at Sage Partner Conference for all those Sage Intacct accounting firms and partners out there. And back in Vegas. I like the Aria. So
I do like the Aria.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones. So won't complain about that. You go to enough of these shows that you just become kind of a connoisseur on the hotels, right? And the restaurants. We will be at AICPA Engage in June.
Back in Vegas. Is that at Aria? Is it at Aria this year?
I think it is. We'll also be at Scaling New Heights, which
not in Vegas.
Not in Vegas. That's in St. Louis. We'll be there. I'll throw this out there. I will not be there at the end of June because I am having a baby. My wife is. So that's where I'll have to take a little break on the on the conference schedule. And then, like I said before, just to reiterate, in September, we have Illuminate, which is the Tipalti conference on September 21st. We'll also be at, name the conference, but Dynamics Summit, Dynamics Con for the Microsoft listeners. Sweet Worlds, we're always a big sponsor. That's also in October, and QuickBooks Connect in November. So I was just looking at the schedule, but we have a lot coming up. So lots of opportunities to learn about us.
Yeah, there's that Accounting Today one as well. That's in San Diego.
Yep, Accounting Today, which is next week in San Diego.
I was gonna say it's right around the corner.
Yeah, next week in San Diego.
Okay. Well, that's great. Anything else that we didn't cover? I'm trying to look at my cheat sheet here over here on the left. I think we really covered most of the high topics that we wanted to talk about. Anything that you can think of that we missed?
No, I think automation in general can be daunting sometimes, especially if you're used to doing things a certain way. What I would say is not all automation is created equally, and what you want to look for is something that will set you up for future growth and provide holistic approach to it. So, and then also relationships, obviously, with your ERP or accounting system of record. So just a kind of overview again, what makes us different is that we are a licensed money transmitter. We are regulated just like any other bank, and we take a holistic approach, everything from signing up new suppliers, so supplier management, onboarding in our own portal, to tax compliance, built-in W-8, W-9, tax wizard, KPMG approved, having the ability to issue POs, and then invoice processing, which is, like I said, those are all things that we do before we even get to that, which a lot of companies consider AP automation. To be able to get that invoice scanned through Tipalti, show up directly into your ERP. We have virtual card, like I said, to cover department level spend, expenses to cover all of those purchases, and the ability to pay globally. So that to me is really, if you're talking about automation, that's how we approach it. I would encourage you to check out our website. We actually, on Insightful Accountant, you all did a great profile on us last year. There's a video about the solution itself, and check us out on Tipalti.com. Check out us at Illuminate, our conference on the 21st, and you'll see more and more updates on Insightful Accountant going forward about that.
Yeah, and then if they go to the site, if they go to Tipalti.com, is there can I go see demos there, or what will I find when I go there?
Yeah, I mean, we have demos listed on Vimeo, YouTube, etc. But if you go to Tipalti.com, we have step-by-step guides on how Tipalti handles the entire payables lifecycle. And you can see we have pages dedicated to our accounting partnerships, to our ERP partnerships, to how we integrate with everything. So we understand it's not one size fits all. We have to meet the customers in the different places that they are. So it should be a good guide for how Tipalti works with whoever's listening right now. I work with clients that have QBO, but some of them are also on Sage Intacct. Well, you can find out how we work with both, and that's all available online.
Great. And again, Tipalti.com for that. And then list of trade shows where people can come and find you as well. Then they can also track you down on Insightful Accountant. So Matt, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking some time out. And what's the due date for the baby?
Thanks so much, Gary. Due date is June 29th. So we are counting down less than 2 months now. It's crazy.
All right. Is that number one? Is it the first one?
That is number one. So that's why it's probably crazier than usual.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The second one will have to be really close.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's great. Yeah. Mine, I've got one that's in college and one about to graduate high school. So we're in different ages and stages.
I'll be on the other side of it. Yep. Before I know it.
Yeah. Right. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for taking some time, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks so much, Gary. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Bye-bye.